What is the true cost of absolute power? Not in gold or armies, but in the human soul itself. When a man is raised as a god, what happens to the boundaries of family, love, and morality? We know the legends of Caligula, the Horus made a consul, the war against the sea. But these public spectacles were mere distractions. The real horror festered in the private chambers of Rome's palace, where intimacy became a weapon and trust was just another frontier to conquer. Before we uncover these 5 acts, understand we're navigating histories written by his enemies, senators like Suetonius who survived his reign. While details may be exaggerated, the pattern they describe is undeniable. A systematic erosion of humanity that began where power is most personal, behind closed doors. Caligula understood that true power wasn't just controlling bodies, it was controlling dignity. His first intimate violation targeted the very concept of friendship. The victim was Valerius Asiaticus, a respected senator. Caligula developed a twisted ritual. He would summon Valerius's wife to his private quarters, but the violation was performative. He then commanded Valerius to stand guard outside the chamber door. The senator, a pillar of Roman society, was forced to listen to his own humiliation. But the cruelty continued. Afterward, Caligula would demand a critique, asking Valerius to evaluate the emperor's performance. This wasn't about desire. It was a live demonstration that no relationship was sacred, no dignity untouchable. He turned marriage into theater and friends into captive audiences for their own destruction. If his first act destroyed dignity, his second monetized innocence. In ancient Rome, a woman's transition to marriage was protected by tradition and gods. Caligula saw it as a marketplace. He would select newlywed couples from noble families, summoning the groom after the ceremony. With cold precision, he informed these men that their wives' virginity now belonged to the emperor. But he offered a cruel illusion of choice. The groom could bid for the right to his own wedding night. Terrified men would offer their entire fortunes, only to have Caligula accept the money and take the bride anyway. He wasn't just stealing a moment, he was ensuring these marriages began with financial ruin and psychological trauma, making himself the silent partner in every union. The most chilling aspect of Caligula's reign was its meticulous organization. While other tyrants acted on impulse, he created systems. He maintained detailed ledgers, not of state affairs, but of the wives and daughters of every prominent Roman. These weren't romantic notes, they were inventories. Women were cataloged by name, age, and physical attributes. He methodically worked through this list, summoning them to the palace as if checking off items. No one was exempt. Historians record him interrupting a wedding ceremony to take the bride, Livia or Astilla, directly to his palace, marrying her himself, then divorcing her days later with a public declaration that she was unsatisfactory. He had turned Rome's elite into his personal collection, reducing human beings to entries in a ledger. For most people, family represents sanctuary. For Caligula, it represented the ultimate territory to conquer. His relationships with his 3 sisters, Drusilla, Livilla, and Agrippina, were openly incestuous. Drusilla became his obsession. He paraded her as his wife, comparing himself to Jupiter, who married his sister Juno. When Drusilla died suddenly, his response was as extreme as their relationship. He declared a mourning period where laughter or bathing became capital offenses, then had her deified. In his fractured reality, he hadn't lost a sister, but part of his divine essence. This relationship demonstrated his core belief that even blood relations were not boundaries, but opportunities for domination. All his crimes culminated in one final act that stands as a monument to absolute corruption. When his wife, Caesonia, gave birth to their daughter Drusilla, Caligula initially celebrated extravagantly, declaring the infant a goddess. But his madness soon twisted this joy into something monstrous. He began claiming the child couldn't be his, citing her violent temper as proof only a god's offspring could possess such spirit. According to ancient sources, he subjected the infant to cruel tests to prove his paternity. The specifics are lost to history, perhaps too horrific to record. What remains is the stark outcome. His only legitimate child did not survive infancy. In pursuing his godhood to its logical conclusion, he destroyed his own bloodline, proving that absolute power consumes everything until nothing remains, not even the future. What drives a man to such extremes? Caligula's childhood provides clues. The boy, nicknamed Little Boots, who accompanied his father on military campaigns, grew up witnessing the brutal politics of Tiberius's court. His family became prisoners of the state, teaching him early that in this world you were either predator or prey. When power finally came, the traumatized young man unleashed all his pent-up rage on a world he saw as having wronged him. His intimate crimes weren't random acts of madness, but calculated demonstrations that no aspect of human life was beyond his control. In the heart of absolute power, intimacy becomes the final battlefield. It's crucial to understand that Caligula's behavior wasn't occurring in a vacuum. The Roman imperial system concentrated unimaginable power in one person's hands. The Senate, once a check on power, had been neutered. The military swore allegiance to the emperor, not the state. In such a system, the only limit to an emperor's behavior was his own morality, and Caligula had none. His reign demonstrates why systems matter more than individuals in governance, why checks and balances exist, and what happens when they disappear. While we have no modern equivalents to Roman emperors, we can observe similar patterns wherever power becomes concentrated and unchecked. The commodification of relationships, the systemization of exploitation, the destruction of boundaries. These aren't historical anomalies, but human tendencies that emerge when power goes unanswered. Caligula's story serves as a permanent warning about the corrupting nature of absolute authority. It shows us that the distance between civilization and barbarism is shorter than we imagine, maintained only by institutions and norms that prevent any single person from exercising unlimited control over others. These 5 acts form a connected pathology, a progression from corrupting friendship to monetizing purity, from systemizing desire to violating family, and finally to destroying his own legacy. They reveal that the greatest threat of absolute power isn't what it does to nations, but what it does to the human soul. If this exploration of power's darkest consequences has resonated with you, share it. Understanding history's warnings is our first defense against repeating them. Subscribe to Shadow of History and hit the like button if you believe these difficult truths need remembering. We continue exploring the shadows of the past, giving voice to stories that must be heard. The true measure of power is not what a person can destroy, but what they refuse to violate.